Hi everybody, my name is Christina Medioli. I'm a customer consultant with Elsevier, so I work primarily with Science Direct and Scopus. And if any of you work with Kenyatta Baylor or Todd Hallerman, that's my territory. So if you see my name, that's where I'm coming from. Today we're going to be talking about using Scopus to look for funding, grants, and collaborators. But then what probably most of you are here for is a sneak peek on Scopus AI. So just a little bit of background, Scopus is a citation database. It's an abstract citation database that was started in 2004. Currently, there are over 93 million documents and growing. And the database itself uses the data model based off of the metadata that exists within documents to help build author profiles as well as affiliation. So it's all of the metadata kind of working together to make it a really robust research tool. This is currently what is indexed in Scopus. This slide has a lot of information. We're not going to walk through it, but the one big takeaway is that Scopus is very large. We index more than 13,000 new documents daily, and typically when a journal puts out a new article, it's usually indexed in Scopus within about a few days. So there's quite a bit of information that's being indexed on a daily basis. Another thing that I do want to stress is Scopus is publisher agnostic. So there's over 7,000 publishers that are currently indexed in Scopus. It's also cross-disciplinary. So a lot of times we're thinking of Scopus, you're thinking, oh, it's indexing STMJ. But we also have quite a bit of knowledge from our social sciences and humanities that are also indexed within the platform. Questions about this? If you ever do wonder what's in Scopus, there is a source tab that exists within the platform, but any of your team can also provide this to you on a monthly basis.
Great, thanks.
Awesome. So like I said, Scopus is built on the data model of all of the metadata in the documents, filtering into those author profiles, which are going to provide us quite a bit of information on grant info, funding bodies, and collaborators. So it's not just going in and finding those abstracts that can help your research, but really using that data to help the whole research journey. So let's start at the Scopus homepage, and this should start moving. Yep, there we go. This is where most of your researchers are going to be starting their journey. Let's do a basic search for artificial intelligence, very pertinent for today's conversation. As you can see, this returns quite a bit of research, over 500,000 documents. While this might not be the best place to start if you're going for a very specific paper or a very specific topic, it can be a really good place to start when you're trying to figure out the full breadth of knowledge for a particular topic. You can use the filters on the left-hand side of your page to drill down more. For this particular example, I just want to look at research for the last 5 years. So just by typing it in or using those filters, I can filter down to artificial intelligence documents for the last 5 years. I can always sort it by most cited, newest, and all of that. Just depends on kind of your research preferences as you're using the platform. Let's focus on a few more of those filters. This is your author filter. So if you're looking for collaborators or who's doing the most research in a space, this is a really quick way to say, okay, Amir Mosavi is doing the most research in artificial intelligence for the last 5 years. I can then use the metadata, and we'll click through later, to find more on that. We also can filter down by country, type of document, as well as funding sponsor. So this is something that I think a lot of people overlook, but just on that main document page, we can look at all of the funding bodies for this particular group of research. One note with this, and I think a lot of times new researchers will think that the top one is giving the most money. That's not necessarily true. They're just giving the most number of grants. So that's almost honestly sometimes an even better place to start, because you can figure out where to spend your time or where I might want to submit for grant funding. Just like everything in Scopus, I can pop it out, I can copy and paste, I can limit. Really, you choose your own adventure when you're using that main document page. Finally, you can sort by country and everything else like that. Let's go back up to the top though and filter this set of documents down to Dr. Mosavi's work. One of my favorite parts about Scopus is everything is hyperlinked. Almost everything is clickable. So yes, I can go into the document, I can find the author information there, but I can also just click that hyperlink under authors to make it really efficient to move around the platform. This is the author profile. This is one of those three-legged stools kind of things with Scopus. And this is going to provide you a plethora of information. I genuinely could spend hours talking about the author profile. But a couple of things to note. If you're very interested in a particular researcher, you can set alerts, which can help your research process. You also can find their most recent topics. So maybe you're very specific in your research area. You can maybe see something that might be parallel. You can look at their documents. You can also see one of the newer things is that author position. So does this person collaborate a lot? Where are they the first author? Where are they a collaborating author? Where are they a final author? And then drilling down even more, it's going to list all of their co-authors for anything indexed in Scopus. So not only might Dr. Mosavi be a really good person to work with, but we can see his top collaborators who you might also want to bring into the fold. And again, you can see so if any of your authors are asking about author profiles, just so you know, these aren't created until they have 2 documents indexed in Scopus. You'll see their name, but once they have 2 documents, it will help provide more of the metrics and citations and all of that within the platform. Questions? There's actually another area in Scopus that you can look at collaborators, and it's actually going to provide us a lot of the same information we just looked at, but it's the researcher discovery tool. This was beta for quite a while. Now you're seeing new. You're always going to find it between that author and organizations. Let's do the same search of artificial intelligence and see what it pulls up. So there was a reason I looked just at 2019 to 2024. That's because the researcher discovery tab, shows us the top contributors to a given area for the last 5 years. So good litmus test, we have the same researcher at the top here. But again, it's going to pull those that have the most number of documents for that particular topic in Scopus. You can filter down by affiliation as well as country, which is what we're going to do now. So I'm going to look at Paul Friedman, who's has the top output for the US in artificial intelligence. And I can actually click to previous profile. I like to think of Researcher Discover kind of like a LinkedIn for researchers. It's going to give that snapshot of where they're working, how long have they been there, what are they currently doing. It's also going to give me their most recent documents, either just in that field or also across kind of their whole portfolio. The other thing it's going to give me is that corresponding author email address. And sometimes it's really hard to find that quickly. So this is a way if you're wanting to collaborate with them, if you have grad students looking for a professor to work with, this can be a really good way to find. And just like we showed before, you can see their author profile just by clicking the full profile. The one thing we didn't focus on before, though, was awarded grants. So it's a new feature within Scopus. It does not cover all grants that are going to be in Scopus, but you can learn more here. But the US funding bodies, I think there's 70 right now, plus more internationally, are going to pull in to this awarded grants feature. Again, everything is hyperlinked. So I can click on the title of the grant. It's going to pull me out. So let's give it a second. There we go. It's going to allow me to go to the funder. So I can go to the NIH, I can go to the NIBIB and see what that is. I can see what that funding description is, when it was awarded, who it was awarded to, and learn more to figure out, is this maybe something that I want to submit as a grant, or I can also search just for that grant itself. So it's going to give me that grant ID. If you're familiar with advanced search, the nice part that was integrated a few years ago was you can also search for, and sorry, my eyesight is not the best, funding information, funding sponsor, and grant number. And you can type all of this in to look for grants to see where things are being published. But if you're following a particular researcher or a particular grant, you can actually just type that right in, and it'll pull up in the Scopus database, and you can kind of follow that research trend. So even if you do have an author, you're following a particular grant, you can easily just kind of track that through Scopus. Questions about that before we pivot ever so slightly? Yeah.
So, question on author profiles. Have you gotten around the sort of author disambiguation challenge?
So right now Scopus has about 95% precision. But the one thing that brings us to 100% is authors also going in and reviewing their own author profile. So when you can attach your ORCID ID, which is going to help you can merge author profiles, that's going to get us to 100%. The algorithm is strong. But when it's like John Smith, for instance, right? That's where you're going to have your authors, and what we would encourage is your authors go in and actually look at their own author profiles. Even if you don't have Scopus, anyone can go in and edit their own author profile, so like completely free. So even if you're running into a colleague that maybe doesn't have Scopus or something like that, anyone can go in and adjust their own. Also, as librarians or administrators, you can actually edit any author profile for your institution as well. So if you know someone is the same researcher, you can ask for those to be merged. And usually they're merged within 72 hours. It's a pretty quick process. But one note to that, every single merge is reviewed by a human. So never worry that your people are going to go in and get click happy. You're going to be able to kind of control that. So did that answer? Any other questions with that? Awesome. So probably why you are all here, introducing Scopus AI. One of the things that I just want to put up, because I think ethical things come up in questions, is so the Scopus AI team takes responsible AI development very seriously. These are the 5 principles. I'm not going to go through them, but we do have the web address. We can share it after the call. This presentation will be shared. But all of the development teams, when they're working with any form of AI, are using these principles to make sure that we're being as responsible as possible when we're working with AI. So let's start with the big picture. We know researchers face many challenges on a daily basis. One example is getting up to speed on new topics. We all know there's information overload. There's so many different sources. They might be lacking the search tools that they need, or they have inefficient searches. Not to mention, once they might understand one topic in one discipline, cross-disciplinary, they're really struggling for that kind of collaboration. So what does this yield? Suboptimal productivity and collaboration and missed opportunities. Lower academic and societal impact overall. So part of the problem is that traditional platforms aren't giving you that easy-to-use summary of unfamiliar research fields. It's difficult to understand what's important and find connections with those collaborators. While traditional tools falter, Scopus AI, with generative AI, aims to offer brief and reliable summaries of research topics. And this should help you conduct research more efficiently and find that information quicker and those collaborators easier. So, meet Scopus AI. I'm going to skip this slide just in the interest of time and talk through what does it deliver. So you're going to see a demo, don't worry, but the main features of Scopus AI are going to be your natural language queries, which are going to let you pose questions in that natural conversational manner. Your summaries within Scopus that are going to give you that concise and trustworthy summary from all of the abstracts that exist within Scopus for the last 5 years. You're also then going to have a visual representation or a concept map that's going to pull out those kind of key terms and make it a little bit easier for you to visualize the links between all of those subjects. And then you're going to have the deeper query, which actually lets you drill down a little bit more into that topic. Question? Great. So let's look at Scopus. And I'm going to be reading a little bit more just so I make sure everything is right. So Scopus AI, once you have the beta, will be found on the main search page. And you can enter your query using natural language and frame it however you like. In this case, we're going to use the example, how can nurses effectively monitor and manage neurological status in patients with intracerebral hemorrhage? So as this question is being analyzed, it's going to go through the Scopus AI vector search, which interprets the intent and meaning of the query. Then it's going to look at the last 5 years of Scopus abstracts to find the ones that are the most relevant to answer the question. Then the large language model, which is going to use very strict prompt engineering, is going to generate a response that's based on all of the trusted Scopus knowledge that we know. And then this is also going to tag on references so that you can know where everything is coming from. You're never just going to get blind information. It's all going to be tied back to that reference. So well, it's great to get a quick snapshot to answer your question. Scopus AI has actually gone further, like I talked about the concept map, which is going to take the keywords of all of those abstracts and provide a bird's eye view of the topic. If you're a visual learner, this is going to be a really good tool for you. So if you're trying to see how concepts fit together or explore new vocabulary associated with a certain topic, it's going to be a really good place to start. The most popular feature, though, as people have kind of tested this in alpha, has been the Go Deeper function. And this is going to suggest further lines of inquiry that you can go through with a particular subject. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can click more concept maps as you kind of go through that question. So it's kind of that learning map going down. And then at the end of the process, you're going to get a concise and trustworthy summary with references that you can then click out to. So just like everything is hyperlinked within Scopus, you'll be able to see the abstracts, go to those papers, if you have all of your links within the database as well, to kind of further that research. Okay. So how does it work? So unlike other AI search models where it's not clear kind of where the answers are coming from, we're trying to be as transparent as possible and show you kind of those 6 steps that are leading the Scopus AI. I do just want to stress too, like we did from the very beginning of the presentation, that everything is in accordance with our responsible AI principles, and that kind of maps our whole journey moving forward. So the first is going to be that curation of high quality content in Scopus, which is just all of you subscribing to Scopus, you have at your fingertips at any particular point. Secondly is going to be that query formation, which is where you come into the picture. You're forming that question, you're putting it into the search bar. Then Scopus AI is going to have that vector search, which is going to have that first result that you will have. That's where you can then break it down more using that like language learning model that'll create that kind of summary that you can use and is hopefully a little bit easier to digest than that overall big abstract. And then finally, you'll have those cited references and the go deeper to kind of continue your journey. So it's kind of our 6-step process. The one thing that I do just want to stress is that Scopus AI Search and Discovery Tool was built for you. We worked with so many of our customers to make sure that what we're getting is what you want. So as you gain access to Scopus AI and you play around with it, please provide feedback. I think that's the biggest thing with any of our products. But we want to make sure that all of this is just vetted and what you're looking for. As I said, I am not, the expert in this, but you can sign up to learn more from our Scopus team. There's a QR code here. Again, all of these slides will be shared, so don't worry, all of this information will be there. But this can also help you receive invites to any of like the presentations that are given on Scopus AI and just learn when that full solution is going to be available. That is all for me. Questions?
So I have 2 questions. One is this a separate product that we would have to purchase on top of?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
So we don't know what pricing is going to be. We don't know what it's going to look like. It's still in beta. And I hate to have that question. I wish I had that answer, but I don't.
Well, no, you're giving me an answer.
But I think that the biggest thing is if you're interested, talk to your AMs. We do have some positions open for you to be able to test Scopus AI and play around, because I think we all want to nerd out with it. I know I do on a daily basis. But I think that that's the big thing is if you have questions or things like that, just talk to your AMs and they'll have better.
Okay. And my second question is I'm trying to understand how I would use the concept map. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
So I think right now when I've talked to anybody about the concept map, I think that it's been a lot of times really those undergrads and grad students that don't quite know where to go. There's some of those key terms that it can help their next search, right? So whether they're using Scopus AI or they're going into the platform and then really using those key terms to help build a more complex search term or using that advanced search, I think it can just help. And I'm not that much of a visual learner in that regard, but I know some of my colleagues who are like, this really helps my brain kind of see where I might want to go next. So, thank you. Yeah, other questions? That's all I had. Again, we'll be at the booth. If you have more questions about Scopus AI, let us know. I know the product team is happy to talk to anybody. We have some one-pagers if you haven't gotten them yet, but I appreciate all of your time and enjoy the conference. We'll be around. So thanks, everybody.